the advices that I will give to my presidents in the 54 states that I lead. Thank you.
And I officially appoint you today. Yeah, and finally, right now, Sudan is crying. Senegal, DRC, perennial wars that are destabilizing the countries. What are we going to do to ensure that at least, even if the pace will not be the same, but it doesn't take us back? Because any war in any country affects most of the neighboring countries and the rest of the region. What could we do as the former leaders and the current leaders to ensure that at least even this story is a big story, that is part of the discussions that we have every day to try and address that big war that we are having right now?
Well, I think the Senegal story is different. As you have heard recently, the president has decided not to run for the third time. And that is something which we have to appreciate and applaud. First of all, we have to try to have our leaders listen to the people carefully, not broadcasting, but listening. One-way transmission doesn't work. So I think kind of very inclusive listening is very important. The second is, but for sure, this continent is a continent of the young people. If you take the Sudanese issue, the young people has revolted and they came to the street, and the army has taken over because they were not organized. And so this story is everywhere. You know, people come to the street, they force the government to relinquish, but ultimately, since there is no organized group, the army is a well-organized entity, and they come and take over. So I think this kind of thing can only be addressed, as the president said, the security forces should be professional and they stay in their barrack. And only civilian democratic processes has to take the highest stage. And people should be organized. I suggest this experience teaches us that our young people are very active in social media, as was said, but they are not organized physically. And they should be organized in a proper way if they want to struggle. Otherwise, don't use social media to destabilize the country. If you are organized, then organize yourself properly as an entity, as a civil society, in a proper way with proper leadership, so that you can resist any temptation that comes from outside, any suppression and pressure that comes from outside, so that a proper transition takes place in the nation. That's what Sudan has failed. And now things has fallen apart. So what we can do is to negotiate with those stakeholders and somehow try to make some compromises so that the country comes back into life and the stability prevails and the civilian authority comes later on through the electoral processes. And similarly, I think DRC is complicated. I don't know in details, but by the way, I want to also send a message that it's not only African making. There are a number of cooks in DRC who came with their own pots to cook in DRC, and you never know whether that food is delicious or not because everyone is cooking there. So they should take their hands out. They came to DRC simply because they want the resources there. And so, and these guys, they are going to tell us that you Africans, you can't make democracy, while they are destabilizing us, supplying arms to those disgruntled groups everywhere. And I think, in the first place, it's we Africans who should take our own house in order and keep our own house in order, not to let these thieves to come and snatch our resources. And second, we have to stop also our own thieves that are doing these bad things. So all these patronage networks and rent-seeking behaviors are the ones who are creating all these problems. And frankly speaking, I think this is what it is. And in African Union, we do not dare to speak like this. I mean, because now we are formers and we have no responsibility. And so we can talk as freely as we are talking now. So to me, I think we have to put our house in order. And we have that responsibility as Africans. And I think the younger generation, you shouldn't follow that trend. You should be selfless. You should be, commit yourself to serve your own people, whatever sacrifice you have to make to the people. And I think that's what we should do.
Thank you very much. I'm happy that you've already started having the honest conversation. The takeaway is the future is in our young people. Everything that we're talking about, I think the intro today is the future in the young people. I'm really humbled. Thank you very much, Your Excellencies, for taking your time to be here to respond to the current issues affecting Africa.